Sorry about that. Okay, today is April 4th, 2023. This is the Chartered Clubs Committee regular meeting. And if you could all stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, we have a quorum, and I would like to thank the Budget and Finance Committee for clearing out of the room in time for our meeting. They had a marathon meeting this morning. Are there any updates or changes to the meeting minutes from March 7th? Okay, they will be accepted as written. Casey, let's start with you with a Chartered Clubs update.
Good afternoon. Just a reminder for our ClubTrack training. That's going to be held at the last week of April. We did have to make a change on Wednesday. So instead of 10 a.m., it will be 1 p.m. So if you're here and are interested, take a picture with your phone, or I'm going to send another update to all the clubs tomorrow as well. So just make sure you keep that in mind. And then also, May 1st is when your CR6s are due. So just a friendly reminder to have those ready to go. And if you have any questions, you can always reach out to scheduling.
Okay, great. Thanks, Casey. Okay, with that, we'll move on to new business, and let's start with the liaison reports. I'm going to start down here with Judy.
I've been in contact with my clubs, the things that are needing to be dealt with.
Excuse me, Judy, can you also let Karen know which clubs you're responsible for?
What am I responsible
for? The category.
Oh, cards. I'm sorry. Anyway, yes, things are going well. The things that we've had to deal with, we're dealing with Casey, and it's going well.
Any issues or anything that?
Nothing that should be brought here. We've had room usage situations, but Casey has been helping us with them, and it looks like they're gonna have a nice ending.
Okay, good. Kathy?
Arts and crafts. We have not had any meetings with our people yet. We're hoping to in the next month or so. We will be attending all of the ClubTrack meetings because hopefully most of our clubs will be there. And I will be sending an email out to all of them, reminding them. Another reminder of those, as well as the budget forums coming up the end of April.
Okay, good. Connie?
I have been busy apologizing to my clubs for not being as present as I'd like to have been the last couple of months, but slowly I'm getting around to attending the board meetings. I've been really impressed with what I've seen so far. So nothing that I'm aware of that's a problem right now. We've had little things that have gotten resolved. Nothing big.
Okay, thank you.
In what category?
Any category?
Oh, I'm sorry, social things.
Vicki?
Sports, Karen. So I have met with the sportsman president. Actually, I went to a general meeting, which was fantastic. They had booths set up all over for the different arms of the Sportsman's Club, and I was so impressed. I had to get in touch with her afterwards and congratulate who was ever responsible for those booths because they did a great job. Pickleball, I have met the board and the new president, and I generally try to go to the board meetings and or the general membership. Mini golf, I am going to be meeting with their board in April. And lawn bowls, I seem to have missed the boat, so that's already for this year, so it's already on the calendar for September, should I end up being liaison to sports. And I have decided that I'm going to learn how to play bocce, so I'll be spending some time with the bocce president.
Pays to know somebody. Okay, Nick.
Yeah, fitness and dance. We've had one of my presidents has had some pressure from their membership over the temperature in the summer at the pool at Palm Ridge, and the need to have cold drinks. There is a Maricopa County ordinance, which means those drinks can't be poolside. So in the end, we ended up getting from Carl and Russ a copy of the ordinance, which we've given to the president so that she can explain to her membership what the situation is. But they can have drinks in the pool area, and the monitors can put a coned area out where drinks are available. But unfortunately, it can't be at poolside, and they will have to, step out of the pool to get the drinks. That's the only other issue that I've had recently was just with a club with dedicated space, which has certain allocated hours, but during some of those hours, there are no classes. Another club decided that meant the room was free to use, and some people went in and started trying to use it at that time, and that caused disruption. And that same area also had disruption because when that space is actually officially allocated to another club later in the day, but that club was turning up early and causing disruption. And I hopefully they're going to turn up on time and be quiet, as opposed to walk into the room or hang around outside being noisy and causing disruption. So those are the only two issues we have, and I hope we've got those solved now as best we can. I haven't visited any clubs recently, but I did email everybody 2 weeks ago, all the presidents, and I got replies from most of them, and there's been no new issues raised.
Okay, good, great, thank you. Karen?
Kathy already spoke for the craft club, so.
Okay, good deal. You're off the hook. Carol?
Hi, I am the liaison for hobbies, and I've been working with one club in particular, the Broadcast Club, who decided they wanted to do a special project where they explained to the community what a club was about, what they stand for, what they do, what's involved, if you're a member, that kind of thing. And it involved a lot of taping, a lot of connecting with the right people. They needed a club to highlight, so I volunteered my club. And we've been working on that for a couple of months, and I just heard the finished product last week after it had been edited. And that will be broadcast out on the station several different times for a couple of different weeks. And then late this summer, they will start working with another club just to kind of put the information out there to the public so they can learn a little more of some of what it is we do. The rest of my clubs seem to be right on track. They don't have any wants or needs at this point.
Okay, great. Good job on helping the broadcasting club.
Yeah.
Great. Mary Kay?
I also have the hobbyist clubs, and so far they've been running right on track. Like Carol said, the car club had their 3rd annual golf tournament last Saturday. I think, Tom, that went okay, right?
Yes.
And the garden club is still having their plant sales every twice a week, I believe it is, and they're doing pretty good with theirs.
Okay, great. Any questions for each other? Any discussion? Okay, good. Then we will move on. We'll move to item 4.03, which is the Chartered Club of the Month. Remember that? Okay, so last fall, we discussed a way to do Chartered Club of the Month. The previous process had involved us voting, sending the votes to Casey, and then getting a write-up that went out in an email. And the discussion we had last fall was, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is the way I recall it, that we would, rather than have a vote, we would come up with call it an editorial schedule, where there was each month, one or more clubs would be highlighted in the email that Casey would send out, and it would be up to the clubs to write their own piece for that email. That's the way I recall it. Is that, okay, so then we came back together a little while later, and then we, I think, collectively went insane because we then voted to return to the old method, to vote each month and send in different clubs. So we kind of yeah, well, it ended up, that's what happened. That's because I went back and reviewed what happened, the result has been that Club of the Month hasn't happened. So I guess my first, if we can agree on all of that, so my first question would be, do we need Club of the Month? Has anybody missed it?
I would rather do something like featuring 2 or 3 different clubs on a regular basis.
Okay, so just
Not
kind
sure.
of like what we talked about before.
Right.
And then who would write up that?
Well, I think the club could, yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
okay, so
They
then,
know their club the best, so they know what they've got coming up, what events or special projects they have, or what they have done in the immediate past. So, yeah, I would leave it up to the clubs.
Okay.
That way we could get more, if we did more than one a month, we could, cover more clubs and get more publicity for all of them.
Okay, so the upside is the work gets put onto the clubs because they know their club the best. What's a downside to using that approach? They won't do it. So have any of
Well,
you ever done a
then-
newsletter? Okay, okay, how long did it last?
About 17 years.
Okay, well, that's an exception.
It's a pain.
A newsletter is different because that's one person doing it versus spreading it around. But I think that there is a risk that the clubs will not continue to do it. So discussion.
I think the important piece is that we're giving them an opportunity to represent their club with and explain more than they might be able to do on the tiny amount of space that they might get in the independent news. And we don't have any control over whether they take us up on our offer, but I think that we should extend the offer for them to do it. And there will be clubs who may not choose to participate, and there may be clubs who would be more than happy to participate more than once a year.
Okay, yes, Connie.
I'd like to give the clubs the chance to at least do this and see how it goes. I was very impressed. I attended the Spanish board meeting, and one of the first things they had was, they had worked out exactly what they're going to present. They had 4 or 5 people involved. They did a great job. And I think if we give our clubs the opportunity, because there's a period of time, twice a year we have our open house or those types of things. But in between, people move in and they have no way to know much about the clubs. So I'd like to give them a chance. I think they would rally and most of them would come forward and like to tell people what they can do for them.
I think that's a good idea, but it would be a good idea to include it in the rec center news.
Which brings up a good point. If we do this and have the clubs create something that could be sent out in an email, how is that any different than what gets published in the Rec Center News? Because there are columns for the clubs there, and also in the Sun City West Independent. How is what this does different than those two sources?
I think first of all, they can present so much more information. I think they also have some control over the timing. It may not be the time of year when they're doing a lot, and they may not at that time want to put something in, but later on they have things going on and they'd like to. And I think it could also we could look at the possibility of lining it with the broadcast club, because what I had mentioned that Spanish had ready to go, they're getting ready to do the broadcast. And it seems like if you're giving them the opportunity to be in more than one place, they just reach more people. They have a better way to communicate about their club. We have some really neat things going on with our clubs, and you just don't know it until you happen to run into it.
I think part of the problem is some of the clubs don't realize how these stories get into the Independent or into the rec center news, that some of the larger clubs have a publicist, but I think some of the smaller ones don't even realize that that option is available to them.
Yeah, Nick?
Yeah, I think we need some kind of a hybrid approach, because I think we do need some kind of recognition of some of the clubs that do some good and notable things. I know the Automotive Club does a lot of work with local schools and colleges, and I didn't know that until I did the visit as part of the Torch. And so there are a lot of clubs doing those kinds of things which are good for the community as well as their own clubs and outside of Sun City West, and that kind of needs to be recognized as well in some way, as well as an ability for a smaller club that maybe just wants to recruit some new members and just generally let people know that they're around. We need some way of perhaps featuring them, and again, at a time when it's better for them because they've got something notable perhaps to say.
Okay, any other discussion? Judy?
How are we proposing featuring them on a month, every month? Would the 3 clubs come to the meeting and present, give them 10 minutes to present, or how are we thinking this might go?
Well, what we discussed previously was that they would submit copy to Casey so that she could put it into the email that she sends out.
Just a thought. So we have 6 categories, right? And the primary time that we meet is about 8 months. So what if each month it's selected to each category? So October is sports, November is hobbies, and you as liaisons get to work with those clubs anyways, and then you can feature those clubs. It's just another idea.
That's an idea. So it's sports month or it's card month or whatever, and then the liaisons could encourage the clubs to write up their copy, have them get it to Casey, and then she can format it and put it into the email. Is that, it's just an idea. Is that, Carol?
I think some of the clubs will be very intimidated by the thought of writing up something where other clubs might not. So maybe if we had a form available that said, who, what, when, where, how kind of thing, it would give them a foundation to start with, and they could go with it from that.
Sure. Yeah, I think that's doable. Thank you for stepping up for that. Okay, any other? No, I'm just kidding. Any other comments, discussion?
I really like Casey's idea, because if you did 90 clubs and only did 3 a month, you're talking 2.5 years. So if we really want to feature them once a year, we need to pare that down.
One other possibility, I like Casey's idea too, but one other possibility would be if, since we have 6 areas, if we had 1 club from each of our areas every month, so that it gets spread out more. In other words, somebody looking at the Independent or would realize, oh, here's one for social, here's one for sports, here's one for cards. More of a variety.
We could do it that way. I mean,
It's just another.
I like the idea of having it all, here's sports month, or here's, hobbies month, but yeah. So if I were to summarize this, it sounds like we are thinking about a club-generated piece of text based upon guidance given to them via a form or some template, and that there would be a month where we would have, by category, whoever submits, whichever club submits for that month, that it would get put into the email that Casey would send out. And it's, the liaison's duties would simply be to encourage the clubs to submit their work to Casey. Is that a fair summary, Karen?
What if, when we have the officers' meetings, we had some type of a form like they were talking about, and at that point in time, we ask them to fill it out regarding their club? A lot of times, more than one officer's there together, and they'll sit together where they could sit down and really, say what they like about the club, and then hand it in. Then that might be one way to collectively get some more response.
I like the idea of them working together, but my fear would be that they would come in and not be prepared with what they want to talk about, or they want to think about it, run it past the rest of their board or members.
Or send it to the club and ask them to return it at the
Yeah.
officers' meeting.
Yeah, either way, but I think there's a way that we can facilitate the collection of that, yes. So we would need to do that. That's a good point. So is that a fair summary? Okay, so let me ask for consensus on this. Yes, as you want to go ahead with that. Well, let me ask another thing before I do that. Because there is the risk that clubs will not follow through on this, do we want to make this a trial kind of a thing and see if, we put a start date and an end date, and we decide by such and such a date, if they don't continue, we stop it, or we continue it, or do we just forge ahead?
I think we should do a one-year trial and see how it goes. And I think we also have to watch the months that we're expecting them to do this, because there are certain months that either financials are due or other things are due, and try to work around that. And then the summer months are challenging sometimes, so just a thought.
So Casey, I think you gave a set of months, was it October through May, I think you said?
Yeah, generally, there's not meetings in the summertime, so those can just kind of not exist. So our first meeting is typically September, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe we carry it into October when clubs actually start getting a little bit more active, and then through May.
Okay. So the 1 year, so starting in October of 2023 through May of 2024, we'll give it a shot and do it that way. Is that acceptable to everybody? I see forehead shaking, Okay, good. So then we will do that with Club of the Month. Casey also has some other ideas. I don't know if she's prepared to discuss them now, but there are some other things that she's working on that may also help with this. So, okay. Yeah, go ahead, Judy.
Just a question, who's going to come up with what months for who? Is that our decision or Casey's, or how do we do this?
You guys want to do it? Let's pick them now, just so everybody got a coin, we can flip coins, and alphabetical by category. Okay, so cards is first. Arts and crafts, okay. Casey, what are the categories?
All right, sports, arts and crafts, hobbies, social, cards, dance and fitness, performing arts. So there's 8, that's perfect. And then golf. That gets us through every fairness of a calendar
I missed
for
one.
those months.
So I have arts and crafts, sports, hobbies, cards, dance, performing arts, and social clubs. I have 7.
Did you say golf?
No, I didn't say golf.
Okay.
So Jack, do we include golf?
Well, that's not part of our charter.
And-
I'm the one that oversees it. I attend their council meetings.
And bowling?
Okay, let's put them last.
Okay, perfect. Good idea.
Okay, so if we do this alphabetical, we got arts and crafts, cards, dance, hobbies, performing arts, social, and then sports. Right?
Yeah. Dance and fitness?
If we put sports last, that's gonna put us at the end of the season for a lot of the sports, which we might be better off to move the sports up, so when we're giving them the PR, it's also during their season where people can come and watch them play or see what they're doing.
Their big tournaments are in March. So it actually lines up pretty nicely. I think it gives us time. For example, I know pickleball takes a couple of weeks before they get their final numbers done. Tennis is usually at the end of March, so it might work kind of in our benefit for some of these clubs.
Right, so that we coordinate everything with them, almost like it's an advertisement for what they're gonna have up and coming, so, yeah, people can see.
You want, yeah. Before or after?
Okay, so we have, so in order, alphabetically, arts and crafts, cards, dance and fitness, hobbies, performing arts, social, and sports. Did I get that right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that satisfactory? I see head shaking. Okay, so that's the order. There you go. That's your editorial order, Casey. Okay. Anything else on Club of the Month? Okay, and we'll start in October, so I think we're good. Okay, good.
Who's gonna come up with the format?
That concludes new business. I'll go to committee comments. I'll start with Mary Kay. Any just comments on anything in particular? Oh.
Did you miss 402? ClubTrack?
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. Thank you. I did miss 402. So if you can give us an update.
We're waiting till the end of the month, actually. We're gonna go to all the meetings that Casey's gonna have at the end of the month and probably put together something for the clubs to answer a question about how it's going. And then we'll have a final report for you in May.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thanks, Karen, for keeping me honest.
Jack?
Yes.
One other thing, who's gonna come up with the format for this situation we're gonna create next fall for the featured clubs?
I'll do it.
Bless you.
Yeah. Okay, now I'll go to committee comments. Mary Kay?
I have nothing.
Okay. Carol?
I'm good.
Karen?
I just wanted to thank Karen and all the people from the rec center for putting on the nice luncheon last week. It was really nice, and we certainly appreciate the things you do for us.
Okay. Nick?
Nothing more.
Vicky?
Good.
Okay. Okay, then I'll open it up to the floor. Any comments from the visitors in the room here? I knew we can count on Tom. Has everybody got Tom's rec card number memorized?
I'll speak into the mic so you can hear me, but we have a new raffle car for this next year. It'll be raffled off February 10th, 2024. It is a red Mustang convertible, 2016, 40,000 miles, and tickets are $20 or $6 for 100. And it's on display out at the Automotive Restoration Club. You're welcome to come by and look at it. You can sit in it, you buy tickets, but you can't drive it until you win it.
And Tom, what is your rec card number?
I'm sorry, 110390.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's George Samani, 122477. And I have a question on the Sunday Night No Tap League. I bowled in it, me and my wife, a few years ago, and then health reasons, we had to take a year off. And we couldn't get back in. And I was told this year that we couldn't get back in because it's full. And so we went up there one night, and there's a lot of people from other areas, I won't even say where, that aren't from Sun City West. And they're into bowling. And I asked the person in charge there, how come they're bowling at our Sun City West bowling alley? Me and my wife can't get in for 2 years. And they said they're grandfathered in, she told me. And I'm saying, grandfathered in? I would think that if you're a member of the community, that we pay our rec dues and taxes, that we would have priority in the golf, I'm sorry, not the golf, the bowling, before somebody from another community around. And I was wondering why they let that happen.
Yeah, unfortunately, we cannot answer, we're unable to answer that question because the leagues are run by the sports pavilion. So you would have to talk to,
Barry Hardesty.
yeah, Barry Hardesty, thank you. Go talk to Bill. Bill
Okay.
Schwind over there.
I'll catch you outside, Bill.
Okay, great, thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
Hi, Lynn Kellis, 129120. I just had a question, now that we're getting a lot of the visitors for spring break and Christmas coming up. There's been some discrepancies at the poolside and the bowling alley as to the ages that are allowed to be in there on their own. When I looked it up online, I believe the pool said they needed to be 16 years old or older to be on their own there. And at the bowling alley, it says 18 years old with somebody who's 19. This 19-year-old can supervise. But when you call the bowling alley, they say they must be 18 years old with, it doesn't have to be a member, but with an adult of 45 years plus. None of this really weighs out. I just wondering if anybody's working on taking a look at what we have for rules and how that's getting put out to the different pools and bowling alley and all of that, because it's not matching up.
Well, I can say that from a club perspective, one of the recommendations from the Tournaments, Leagues, and Special Events Subcommittee was to open up the RRMPs and look at that. And that'll be one of the things. But from an amenity perspective and those kinds of rules, I would defer to Mr. Schwind over there.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, with that, then I will go ahead and conclude the meeting, adjourn the meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you.